Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is AJ from the Paladin Journal, and today I wanted to take a moment and talk to you guys about something that I feel is going to impact the Warhammer hobby in its entirety very negatively in the coming months and even in the coming years. Now, if you've been on social media for the last like 18 hours or so, or you're keeping up with the Warhammer community and with whatever various local Warhammer hobby chats that you're in, you know that they announced yesterday that they're going to be removing two entire armies and a whole bunch of models from a bunch of ranges for AOS as we transition to the new edition that's coming later down this summer. And we saw the cinematic trailer of that new edition a few days ago at Adepticon, and it was a really good trailer, but it was almost non-existent in terms of the details that we got about what new models are coming and what's going away. Now, as of this week, we're starting to see what is happening. They've announced officially that the Liberators are getting redone. They're going to be in the new Thunderstrike armor, I believe. So they're going to be less chunky. They're going to be leaner. They're going to be meaner, a bit more menacing looking, and also a bit more fancy. However, the burning question on everyone's mind was what's happening with the Skaven and what other models are we getting? Because this drip feed of information, it can work for GW to whatever marketing plan that they've come up with, but it really doesn't work well for the community. And now, as of yesterday, we got this huge gut punch of all these models that are leaving, and it's like, did we really need this at this time? So first of all, let's just take a moment and see what all is leaving, and then I'll give you my thoughts. So as you can see here, they're giving us a bunch of information like the Beasts of Chaos and the Bone Splitters Oryx. They're leaving AOS altogether. They will have Legends rules for about a year. Or I'm sorry, they will have official rules for competitive play until the summer of next year. After that, they go on to Legends, and they will not be supported for competitive play. However, it's a good sentiment, and it's the kind of BS corporate sentiment that is thrown out at these like moments in time for hobbyists, or when video companies announce something that's going away, like Blizzard often does with World of Warcraft and Diablo and whatnot. So, anyways, starting with Stormcast, Celestar Ballista, Evocators on Lines, Evocators, Sequitars, Knight Heralder, Knight Vexilor, Lord Castellan, Lord Celestin, Lord Veritant, Lord Ordinator, Lord Exorcist, Knight Azeros, Paladins, Judicators, Liberators, Prosecutors, Gabriel Shurhard, Boros Starstrike, Castigators, Estrella, Aventus Firestrike, Masters of the Sacrosanct, Aaron Quester. That's a lot of models. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 23 models are leaving. And it's not good. It's not good at all. And the reason this is not good in terms of just a Stormcaster is because this is almost the entire range of models that came out with AOS 2.0 in, let's see, 2018? 2018, yeah. 2018 is when summer 2018 is when AOS 2.0 was launched. And, a lot of these models are from that range. The Sacrosanct Chamber that is revealed when the Soul Wars were happening and Nagash was mad at Sigmar and he wanted to have a huge battle all over the Mortal Realms and everything. So a lot of these models are from that time, and also like the Liberators, the Prosecutors, the Knight Azeros, some of those models and especially the characters, they are from AOS 1.0. Now we know that the Liberators are getting redone, so presumably some of the other models here are also getting redone, but the key point is of losing these named characters, losing these generic characters, and also losing the entire Sacrosanct Chamber almost. Is that good? Most of these models, they haven't been out for more than 10 years, or just about. Conceptually, design-wise, they're probably like 12, 13 years old. And a lot of these are like, cut 5 years off each of those. 4 years off of each of those numbers. And then it's like, did we really need this to happen at this time? What message are we sending to the community that how much GW values the time that you're spending in the hobby, all the money that you're investing, all the emotional investment you have, and everything? And I think this is going to set a very bad precedent for the game moving forward because it's going to erode confidence in the game, confidence in the models, and confidence in the hobby. Because if they can get rid of models like this that are like 5 years old, 6 years old, 7 years old, for Stormcast, which is the dominant faction of the system, the Stormcast are the Space Marines of AOS. They're in every single promotional material, every single edition. They're the first ones to get their rules updated. They have the biggest range, pretty much, and it's like all plastic. Whereas a lot of the other ranges, they have to deal with some old resin models, or maybe even like in a few rare cases, dealing with metal models, which are slowly being updated over time. So it's like if it's gonna happen to Stormcast, who are the premier faction of the setting, then what about all the other ones? I've heard some really interesting takes about, and people are wondering like, okay, so what's gonna happen with the Nighthawk that got redone for 2.0? What about all the Oziark Bone Reapers? Are they all on the chopping block? And there's all this uncertainty going on, and I don't think that kind of speculation is good for the company or good for the hobby, because again, it erodes confidence, and this is not what you want if you want to have some kind of longevity to your product, to your game systems, to the hobby, because the hobby, as it has been for like 30 years, 40 years, it's defined by the emotional attachment that we as players and even the company in certain ways have with these models. And if that's all just like, it's all gone like this, then what's the point? Should I keep investing? Should I keep playing? Should I keep buying? Entire armies can change with rules. We know that. And we are fine with that. Of course, we grumble that, the 3 year cycle that 40K and AOS are on right now, it's not good. It's just too much churn. And now, in addition to the rules churn, we're also getting a model churn. And it's like, it's too much. We are somewhat fine with the rules churn, even though we complain, we grumble. But now with the models as well, that's not good. So let's see what other stuff it's going away. Skaven. So the Skaven, we know they announced in the cinematic trailer for 4.0 that it's going to be AOS, that's going to be Stormcast versus Skaven, and the Skaven, the entire range is getting a refresh, so it makes sense why a lot of these models are going away. There's 16 models on here, 16 units, some characters, some units, some artillery and whatnot. Makes sense. A lot of these units are, probably like key components of the Skaven range. I am sorry, I do not have much familiarity with the Skaven range. Even though, I've been a fan of the lore for like 20 years at this point, with fantasy and even with AOS to a degree. So, but I'm not familiar with a lot of this, so I cannot go into specificity. But I can say that a lot of these models are for sure getting redone, and we just have to have a little bit of patience where the Skaven are concerned. I will say, however, that when they revealed the new Liberators for Stormcast on Tuesday, or maybe it was on Monday this week, they should have announced at least one new unit that was being refreshed for Skaven. Either a brand new unit or a unit that's getting refreshed. It would take some of the sting out of the whole thing, and you could be at least a little positive, overall with this whole news that bombshelled yesterday. So that's that. Some of these may go, unfortunately, but in some ways also, this is not exactly a silver lining to this. It's just like in the worst case, you do have the option of playing some of these units still in the old world. I think, because while the Skaven are not an officially supported faction for the old world, they do have rules as a legacy faction. So, in the worst possible case, that option is available to you. Even though I recognize that that option is terrible, you prefer AOS over the old world. You prefer the new aesthetics of the rules. You prefer the new aesthetics of the lore, and whatever else. The whole context. You prefer AOS. You don't want to play the old world. So it is an option available to you. It's up to you to not take it. I fully understand if you don't, and I sympathize. But worst case, it's an option. Bone splitters. These are, you know, they're a bit of an odd choice of models to still have in this day and age. As I was informed earlier today on social media, the whole aesthetic for them is, the excuse me, is the African savage, and I can see that in how they're portrayed, how they're designed, how they're talked about. So it's understandable why they would be going away, especially with the rise of the old world. And they do say that they will receive a free battle tome PDF if you want to continue playing with these rules for them for another year. Up and then, bye-bye. Ta-da! Now, I think the biggest misstep this whole thing is Slaves to Darkness, even on par with Stormcast, because as you can see, a lot of these models, a lot of these units, the Horns, the Cypher Lords, the Corvus Cabal, they're all models that came out like 6 years ago for Warcry. Some of them are warbands for Underworlds. And it's like, why? And like the reasoning they give is that, the Dark Oath are coming, so Slaves to Darkness finally have found their definitive moral followers. I say bullshit to that. Chaos is not an army of regimented troops, of uniformity, of conformity. The whole thing with Chaos is that it's a riot of choice, colors, units, everything, styles, aesthetics. And as you can see here, the Horns of Hashut, the Cypher Lords, the Corvus Cabal, the Signs of the Flame, Kagro's Ravagers, they each have unique aesthetics. Now I get the point that with their ongoing production issues, it's not feasible for them to keep making these units. And that's a huge part of why a lot of these units are just going out of production altogether. And some may be rebundled down the line, like the Liberators will be, like some Skaven might be. But the option that, the explanation that Dark Oath are the new baseline and these don't fit, I don't think that's a good explanation. I think that's a BS corporate explanation for why it's all going away. And I think it's a real shame if GW does not keep producing these models. They're absolutely gorgeous, all of them, every single one of them, absolutely gorgeous. But just look at them. They each have a unique aesthetic to them. They're devoted to certain gods. So not everyone's going to be a fan of Dark Oath. Some are going to prefer the Iron Golems for their Horn worshippers, Corvus Cabal for the Siege worshippers. The Cypher Lords, I believe, have like Slaneshi vibes to them, and so on. So it's like, come on, man. And then Beasts of Chaos. So just as with the Bone Splitters, sorry, the Beasts of Chaos are going out in their entirety. And let me tell you, this is absolute BS. They're removing an entire army from the game because it's a highlighted faction for another game, the old world. Beasts of Chaos, Beastmen, they are one of the main factions for the old world. I absolutely do not understand what GW is doing with the whole splitting up of factions. Like, you cannot have any kind of overlap. Yes, there is some overlap right now, but with all that we are seeing from the last 2 years, they do not want that overlap. You look at 40k, all of the heresy units, they are no longer playable in 40k. They have all been moved to Legends. I mean, they're already kind of in pseudo Legends already because they were in the Forge World Index before, and but now they're all Legends, and they cannot be used in main 40k at all. Sure, you could find some casual games to play with your friends in your local club or whatever where you can use them, but here's the mentality, right? If GW says something is going to Legends, that's essentially a ban list, and people are gonna use that ban list no matter how well-meaning they are, because it's the new framing of the rules. People want to follow the new framing of the rules, whether they want to or not. Sometimes it is forced upon them, and that goes doubly for Beasts of Chaos. They are a legacy army that came over from Warhammer Fantasy Battles to AOS. They've been supported for almost 10 years now, but now they're going away. They had rules updates, they had data sheet updates, points changes, they had everything going for them for the last 10 years. But now it's like, oh, just because you're going to be in the old world, we don't want them in AOS, which is, it's like, why? Why do you want to make everything uniform across the board? There's Your setting does not have to conform like that. It does not have to be developed like that. And they're just shooting themselves in the foot. They're deliberately cutting down their own sales for whatever benefit that they are seeing. We do not know. I wish they were open with us, but they're not going to be open with us. And this is an entire army. This is a bigger army than the Blown Splitters. Like, they repackaged all this stuff for AOS. You know, they came out with the Vanguard boxes in ninth edition. You know, they're probably going to do something with 10th. Sorry, they repackage all this stuff with third edition, and with fourth edition, they're probably going to do the same thing. Now, this makes me wonder: are they going to do spearhead boxes for this? I am not sure. Spearhead is going to be the new way to play AOS 4.0. They announced this at Adepticon, so it's like, I can probably find the relevant graphic for that, but it's like whatever. And then a bunch of other models are leaving, like Sylvan Branch Wraith, okay, Soros Eternity Warden, okay, Valkia the Bloody. This one I have strong feelings about. Valkia the Bloody is one of the most iconic characters from Warhammer Fantasy. She has an entire novel to her. There's at least like 2 or 3 short stories that are written about her from a fantastic author, Sarah Cockwell. Go read that stuff on the Black Library website. You can get the ebooks. There might be an audiobook as well for the novel, but I recommend reading Valkia, the novel, and its associated short stories. I rate them very highly. Sarah is also a dear friend. She has been a mentor in some ways as well, as far as my writing, my own aspirations for writing have gone. And it's absolutely sad that the character that she chose to highlight during the waning years of the Warhammer Fantasy Battles system, an awesome character. She gave her such a great backstory, developed her really well, and now she's gonna go off into the ether. She's gonna be no more. And it's like, there's also some undercurrents of how you manage the expectation of representation in the systems. She's one of the few female characters in the game, named characters, and she's also one of the very, very few named female characters, even. And, you know, I think she should be represented. She should be moved to something the in Corn. She is the bride of Corn, essentially. So I don't know why she's I don't know why she's going off sale. She is the kind of character that you can build an entire narrative around. So removing her from the game, moving her off the Legends, it's a huge disservice. Still Anfingram is going as well, Madcap Shaman, Big Boss, as people say. It's whatever. Overall, really not happy with this. The Stormcast also have some female characters as well that are going, and I think it's all a mistake. because there's this growing movement within the community of wanting more representation for female characters and also LGBTQ characters. And when you move some of those characters off the main game, that either they're not going to be supported, they're not going to make those models anymore, and they're all just gonna they're all just gonna vanish. It's like it doesn't set a good example. Now they have these ongoing production issues for the last year and a half, almost 2 years now, and it's just getting worse because not only are they not able to produce everything in the quantities that are needed for things that are already out, but every month there are new releases. And a lot of these units going away is a result of that, to manage their production better, but also because the whole old world thing, and they want to redo excuse me, they want to redo some of these models, but that's a very short minority among all these models that are going away. And then some suit decided to do this, to invalidate the armies after 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. And like with the Beasts of Chaos, people who came over from Warhammer Fantasy to AOS for this army, they're rebased from squares to rounds. And now some of them may choose to go back to squares, rebase their armies. A lot of them are probably just gonna quit. And that's the saddest thing. GW is going to make people quit the game, whether they're long-term established players or they're new players who joined in the last 2 or 3 years. Even people who may have bought armies for AOS 4.0 just last month. They announced a new edition. If they were going to be removing models, they should have announced this with the 4.0 trailer. I know how negative that would have been. It would have taken away from the hype of the new edition. But they should have announced this the next day. I will give them that. They should have announced this the next day, that yes, we have a new edition coming, but also, just to be clear, just to be honest, properly honest, these things are going away. What kind of a different conversation would we be having then? Think about it. Now, I've seen a lot of takes in the last 18 hours or so, whatever it's been since the article came out, and I have to say that there's a huge majority of players I'm seeing who are vocal. They do not like this. Most of them are sad. Some of them are lashing out in anger. They're hurt. Some people have said some vile things. And in the midst of everything, I will say that if you are talking shit about the game system, if you're talking shit about the devs, your opinion is not relevant in any sense, no matter how right you may be in the hurt that you're feeling. This is something that I feel carries over from video games and other things. The devs are not at fault here. The systems are not at fault here. Whether it's AOS or 40k or Heresy or AOS or what have you, or Warcry, Underworlds, anything. The people who make those games, who make those models, they're not at fault. This is essentially the result of some executives who decided to do the wrong thing. Your anger should be directed at them, but you should manage that anger as well. Do not say vile things about anybody. Place the blame where it is deserved. Don't blindly lash out. That doesn't help anything. It poisons the whole conversation. Thankfully, almost 99% of what I've seen is people just feeling hurt and sharing that with the community on social medias. And I sympathize with every one of them. I've been through it with 8th edition, 40k, I've been through it now with 10th edition 40k when I got back in last year. Space Marine bikes, attack bikes have gone. Most of the bike characters have gone, like the captain on bike, apothecary on bike, librarian on bike. Jump characters are gone, quite a few of them, and it hurts, because there's so much potential in the hobby to do things. And GW for the last like 15 years has been on this like some kind of a crusade, where they want to streamline everything, streamline the rules, streamline the product ranges, but it doesn't help when they continually push product to bloat the entire range, like they've done with Stormcast, like they've done with Primaris and 40k. Doesn't help anything. You should add to the hobby in a positive way and not take away in such a negative way that it hurts people. There are people who have 2,000 points, 10,000 points, 15,000 points of these armies, of the Sacrosanct Chamber, of the Beasts of Chaos, and you're invalidating those armies. There's somebody who went out last month because they're hearing all this hype for new edition. They're like, which army do I like? I like the Bone Splitters. Okay, sure. I like the Beasts of Chaos. Okay, sure. I like the Sacrosanct Chamber. Okay, sure. You just got screwed. You just got eternally fucked. You spend your hard-earned money, probably, a very small allowance that you made for yourself or got from parents or what have you, and you're like, oh, I want to spend on this. Now you find out that, it is all a waste. You can't even sell these things. There's going to be very few buyers because a lot of this stuff is not going to translate well. So it's like you're just in a lurch. And what was achieved by GW? They've trimmed the fat, so to speak, but at what cost? And that's what I want to, leave you guys with. Think about what the cost is of this decision. Not just for the launch of 4.0, but also for the hobby moving forward. If it's going to happen to Stormcast, with all their bright, shiny new sculpts over the last 10 years, it's going to happen to everybody. Nobody's safe. And there's so much uncertainty being created that, you just keep wondering. Like, tomorrow, GW could announce that there's a mystery codex coming for 40k over the summer. There's going to be Genestealer cults coming in the summer, Sisters of Battle, and then there's a mystery codex. People are hyped for it, but with this on the mind, I know I'm crossing the streams here with the systems, but you just killed the hype, dude. You, the dude, or the dudes who made this decision. You've killed the hype across the board. You've generated so much negativity with this article. Excuse me. What did you achieve? If there are good and valid reasons, we deserve to know. But otherwise, this is just the new AOS bloodbath. The hobby had this huge bloodbath in 2012, 2013, when the end times happened and Fantasy Battle went away. AOS came with its not so great lore, not so great game system, and now we are back to that point. It's not on as big a scale, but the hobby overall is like so many times bigger than it was back then as well. AOS has drawn in tens of thousands of new players. Warcry has done the same. Kill Team has done the same. Warhammer Underworlds has done the same. Primaris and all the updated armies for the last few years, they've done the same. Anyways, so that's where we are. And, this has just been a downer, man. Like, I already have negativity towards some of the business practices from GW. with the whole Legends thing for 40K and everything. And now, you know, I am myself affected directly. I was planning on starting a new army for 4.0 Stormcast. I have a small Daughters of Cain army, as you guys have seen on some of my streams from early in the year that I've been building up. But now I don't want to buy anything anymore. Certainly not for AOS. I wanted to start Stormcast actually with the new Ruination Chamber that's coming, and I wanted some of these old models because I love the Knight Azros. I love the Prosecutors. I love some of the other 1.0 characters and models. But now it's like it's a worse situation for me since I don't have an easy access to an LGS being in India. My closest one is in Dubai, as far as I know, and funds are an issue. So it's like I can't just call them, ask them. It's like, hey, what do you guys have in stock? Oh, here, just keep like $1,000 worth of stuff for me. I can't really do that, or $200, $300 worth of stuff. I can't do that. A lot of the stuff is online only, so screwed in so many ways. I don't want to buy anything for my Daughters of Cain because I know for a fact that they're gonna get an update. They've been due for a long time. They just had a new unit come out this year, a new character, and there's all this talk about another Dark Elf faction under Malarian, and it's like, yeah, I've already been screwed with Cities of Sigmar because I bought a lot of the old Warhammer Fantasy Dark Elves for the city I wanted to build because there's a Dark Elf centric city, and it was like I wanted to get dwarves and dark elves, and I wanted to have like a joint army, you know, and I thought it would be like a really fun thing to do, narrative wise and whatever. But it's like I've not been able to get any dwarf stuff because it's not easy to get those. I did buy a whole bunch of dark elf stuff when cities were announced in 2.0, so it's like, and now it's all gonna go away because the dwarves are all going to the old world. The Dark Elves are a legacy faction, and we don't know when they might be updated. And I stress the word might. So it's screwed in so many ways, like I said. And there's just this whole negative feeling I have for this whole issue. And I know I've rambled on quite a bit, probably more than I should have, but I think this was a mistake. Whatever benefit GW thought they were going to make, whether it's on their profit sheets or whatever, it's all going to get outweighed by all the negative sentiments that the hobby is going to suffer over the next few months, even the next couple of years. Maybe more, I don't know. I hope I know the hobby will survive because the hobby is resilient that way, but we're going to lose so many people and it's just not worth it. I don't know. So anyways, that's me, guys. Signing off, and I'll be back with another video soon. Hopefully, a positive one this time. So keep an eye out on the channel, and just make sure follow on the social medias wherever you guys do. And that's it. Cheers. Bye.